Hi guys, how are you doing today? Are you ready for new stories? First story is about OP's parents, who demand OP buy an expensive house from his sister, which she can't afford to keep. The house is way overpriced, and OP doesn't need such a big house, but they keep convincing him that it's such a good deal. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Long and crazy story, short-ish. About a year ago, my golden child sister got a new, high-paying job and immediately decided to buy a house. She ended up buying a huge, really expensive house way out of town. It's basically a small mansion. I politely suggested that it seemed overpriced, even for how nice it is. I wondered how the heck she could afford it, even with her new job. I'm sure she had no savings. I also politely asked if it was a good idea to maybe wait until she's more settled into the job to buy a place, since what if the job ends up not working out? Shockingly, no one cared what I thought. Fast forward to now. I graduated and got a job, and I'm shopping for a place for myself. I'm single, so I'm looking for something small, maybe a one-bedroom condo or small townhouse that's in a good location. Also, my sister lost her job and can't afford her house. To my parents, the solution is obvious. I should just buy my sister's house. They want me to buy it for what she overpaid for it a year ago. Yeah, no. They kept bringing it up and telling me how great it was, and I kept politely saying no. But eventually I asked, why the heck would I want to live in a huge house in the middle of nowhere? Also, it's way overpriced at that price. They all got mad about that and started insisting, no, it's a really good deal. I could probably just turn around and sell it for a profit right away. Of course, I replied, so why doesn't my sister just sell it for a big profit? And they don't have an answer. They deny it, but I'm 99% sure they are somehow financially entangled with the house and are regretting their choice and trying to get out of it. But there's no way I'm going anywhere near that purchase. OP should offer his parents to sell the house and move in with their golden child. My husband lost his first parent in early teenage years. His second parent as he just turned 18, which is the legal age here. His siblings are 15 years older than him, and he told me how they resented him for being the sweet and golden child. When his second parent died, they scammed him on the inheritance. As being a fresh adult on his own, he didn't know how to get or afford legal support. And maybe a grieving teenager doesn't really have the energy to fight his much older siblings over the remains of their estate. He lost contact with them over this. He had some tough years after that, as he had neither money nor someone to teach him how to manage adulthood. However, that's some years ago. In the meantime, we met, dated, and married. I took his rather unique name, at least for this region. He is mostly well, but any remark that reminds him of his family is bringing up all those painful memories. He still has attachment issues. Anyway, around 2 weeks ago, I met with some new clients. After the meeting, a lady stayed behind and asked me if I knew someone by the name of my husband. I told her yes, and that he is my husband. Where did she know him from? Turns out, she is his sister, which immediately sent me into protection mode, as I am not too fond of her from the stories of my husband. I am getting a bit taciturn, but we're still chatting a bit, until she asks me if I would give her my husband's contact details, which is where I have to put the cards on the table. That I do not think he would want that, or that it would do him any good. However, she said she's really sorry and wants to fix things between them. I then told her that I would think about it, and I would contact her if I came to a decision. She relented, but wasn't really happy about it. I thought about it for a while. Then I decided that I want to meet with her again, to see if I feel like she is trustworthy. I also decided to hire a private investigator to see if she could have any other motives, like financial hardships, or maybe even medical trouble. I feel like we could have met by accident, but it could have also been provoked by her. I don't plan to tell my husband about what's going on until I checked her and feel like she really is apologetic and has no other motives than contacting her lost brother. I fear that it would break him again if his sister came back to take advantage of him. He also said previously that he doesn't want to hear from his siblings ever again, so I am not sure if he would be open to meet her if she turns out okay. On the other hand, he is an adult, and keeping this from him feels quite patronizing. He should be able to make his own decisions. But maybe I should have just blocked any contact attempt from her from the beginning. Should I tell him? Totally get where OP is coming from. But like she says, he's an adult. Plus, I think it's unlikely he'll fall for their tricks again. Especially if private investigator finds some juicy stuff. I think he deserves to know. I'd tell him and let him decide. But OP should let him know she doesn't trust her motives. Maybe about the private investigator as well. OP could help him make an informed decision rather than making the decision for him, if that makes sense. My ex-husband and I were together for 17 years. We have 3 children together. My ex is a senior vice president at a major company in New York City. He worked hard over the years, and we were graciously rewarded financially. Both of us work full-time, and our schedules can often run late into the night. Not to mention, we both make frequent business trips. This led us to making a mutual decision to hire a full-time nanny. Initially, we hired 2 young girls to take care of our children. The nanny took care of our children during the week, and a separate part-timer would do the weekend duties on the occasion that both my husband and I were out of town. Our main nanny was amazing, but after a year, she decided to take a job opportunity to better advance her career. We then decided to promote our part-time girl to the main nanny role. A few months in, I began to notice my husband having extra attitude with me. He was constantly taking his stress out on me, which was out of the norm. I started noticing how his mood would change when the nanny was around, and I noticed how he treated her much different compared to the rest of us. 6 months later, he filed for divorce. Less than a year after the divorce was finalized, they quietly began dating. Shocker. And they were engaged and married within another year. We have joint custody of the kids. They stay with their dad during the week, since he kept our old place, which is within close proximity to their school. They spend weekends and most holidays with me. We both live in the city still, so it's fairly easy to transport them from place to place. I have rarely spoken of her since they officially hooked up. The only time I ever see her is when we swap the kids. When I am forced to speak to her, it's usually a simple hello or thanks. It's always awkward, but I cannot fathom humanizing this woman who played a massive role in ending my marriage. She's simply a homewrecker to me, nothing more, nothing less. Recently, I've noticed my kids have been referring to her as mom while speaking of her, and it has infuriated me to the 3rd degree. My ex and this woman are brainwashing my children into believing this to be the norm. Per our divorce decree, neither my husband nor I are allowed to speak of each other in a negative way towards our children. This has been really hard for me to keep my mouth shut and not call her out for what she is in front of my children. As I dropped the kids off this Sunday evening, I simply told her that she will never be mom to the kids, regardless of what her and my ex try to cram down their throats. Monday morning, I got a text from my ex cussing me out for my comment. He revealed that she's pregnant with their child, and that me yelling at her that way, I did seriously upset her, and could have done damage with her being pregnant and all. He threatened to take me back to court and attempt to gain full custody. Was my heat of the blowout moment justified? I can't believe how many people commented that OP is an a-hole. Thousands of women have nannies or babysitters. Just because OP decided to be more career-oriented doesn't mean she is any less of a mother. Nobody can say for sure if they are enforcing her as mom. So it's not fair to accuse. What they aren't doing is enforcing OP as mom. OP is their mother. She will always be their mother. Not to say she can't be a mother figure. Obviously she is. She's their stepmom. Like it or not. It's not like OP called her a weaselly home-wrecking bee. I mean, seriously, after having her 17-year marriage fall apart, going through a divorce and custody agreement, and figuring out how to balance work and kids alone, OP was bound to have a breaking point. Not that it excuses OP's accusations, but it does give reason. My work friend Jane, fake name, is getting married in January. I had never considered her to be a close friend, but she asked me to be a bridesmaid, so I guess that means something. For context, I was brought up in India, so it was a major culture shock for me when I learned just how Americans are obsessed with their wedding days about being them. Like, I cannot stress enough, our weddings are filled with at least 700 to 1,500 people. Basically, everyone we know. And weddings are pretty standard, unless you are rich. Nobody actually hires a wedding planner or anything. and or even personally chooses the flowers and decorations. But the most shocking thing was, brides get mad at kids if they cry because they are taking away attention. Or other stuff like not having pregnant, more beautiful women at weddings, etc., etc. People making pay for their honeymoon. In India, butts would be whooped for being so self-centered. But I have learned to respect this, no matter how bizarre for me. These are all real stories I have heard, and regardless to say, I am scared of American brides and decided long back never to attend weddings and definitely not to be part of it unless it's my best friends. No, I am not gonna cut my hair for someone and dress out of my style. I'm sorry. Jane knows this. She had laughed at my absurdity. So her asking me was a shocker, and I declined, citing the above reasons. She kept insisting, saying she isn't a bridezilla and would be understanding and whatnot. After 2 weeks of saying no, I finally gave in. Cut to a month later. We have been texting in a group, trying to decide on dresses, bachelorette party and whatnot. Jane straight up said to one bridesmaid to lose some weight, because she might feel ugly with the other girls, and it will not be aesthetically pleasing. I got mad at her for that, and she cited the classic reason, saying, I have been planning this since I was a little girl. To which I replied, planning what? To be a bridezilla? And she called me B, saying I should be thankful that I get to be a part of the wedding. And when I asked her what did that mean, she replied saying, I am the only person of color bridesmaid, which will mean I will automatically catch attention, thus taking the limelight away from her. And she also has to be mindful of what color will suit me. I replied furiously that she begged me for 2 weeks to agree to this, and then I backed out, saying she could play Tim Burton with someone else. I am also friends with Jane's fiancé, and out of anger, I told him the details of the fight. He got mad at her, and they must have had a fight, and she called me crying, saying I was a major a-hole and should fix this mess. I replied she should stop being fat-phobic and hung up on her. I know brides are supposed to be under a lot of stress and all that, so I am sort of feeling bad about this. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Wanted to say this. She said, don't be such a b. I think going to her fiancé was a wrong move from my side. I should not have let my anger get me. But fiancé was a friend of mine before they started dating, so I thought I was obliged to. I don't think OP is an a-hole. Unfortunately, these kinds of brides are becoming more and more common. They think they're entitled to act horribly, and everyone should take it. It didn't used to be that way. This is a newish phenomenon that's been ramping up for the past 20 years or so, and it's only going to get worse. Entitlement breeds entitlement. That she has the audacity to demand OP fix this is laughable. Unless OP can bring her back down to earth and magically make her less entitled and self-centered, it's not going to be able to get fixed. By the time this is over, she'll have lost a few friends and still not see herself as being the cause of it. Even if she has a change of heart and apologizes, OP should say thanks, but no thanks to being in her wedding party. I wouldn't even attend as a guest at this point. Update. I'm sorry, but the story is 100% real. And I am also sorry if I hurt someone's sentiments by going on a rant about American weddings. I just wanted to tell you how bizarre it really does sound to me. And the stories I listed for examples are all I have heard from my friends. I knew that if I committed to being a bridesmaid, it would be extremely hard for me to bend according to the bride's wishes. So I simply decided never to put myself in that situation. Unless it's my best friend's wedding, who will be totally understanding. Hopefully. Why should I agree to something I will 99% hate to do, and then possibly make a deal out of it, thus creating more pressure for the bride? Anyways, someone asked me how I knew the fiancé. Let's call him Charles. And the thing is, Charles and I went to the same college. We never exchanged numbers, but were mutuals on Instagram. I, in a fit of rage, communicated all the details of the fight with him. And I guess in my mind, it was justified by saying he deserved to know about her actions. But yeah, I also did it out of spite, not proud of it. Charles later called me to say they had a fight, and apparently Jane's sister, Lizzie, had made some comments about the other bridesmaids being out of shape, which led to Jane being all mean about it. Also, Lizzie will be the photographer, so it was hard for Jane to contradict her on anything. And I am guessing they also have some issues between them as well. FYI, Lizzie was also in the group chat, and Charles said that she had asked Jane to drop me because no matter what, I will not fit in Lizzie's plan of action. Clicking photographs, the aesthetics of the wedding pictures, I don't know. All in all, I don't think Charles is mad at me for informing him of this crisis. A day after the fight, Jane too called me, calling me a homewrecker. What? And saying I was just jealous of her because she was getting married. Also, a kind person had messaged me here, saying things might even go to the HR. And I threatened her, saying if she made one more R comment, I would drag her to the authorities. She caught the gist and soon hung up. But a few hours later she texted me, saying that I could give her wedding gift now, itself, since I won't go to the wedding. I left her on scene. And also, the bridesmaid they fat-shamed? And yeah, I wish I could take the whole credit for the Tim Burton comment, but I can't. I had to Google to make sure I was citing the right director before I said that, so thanks to Google too. So anyways, that's it.